Hey guys, Mineral here with episode 4 of Mineral Coaches. And for this episode, we worked with Law, who is a 4.3k off tank player. And he is only 14 years old, so very impressive to be at this rank while being so young. And for this session, we also had his coach sit in on the session so that he could potentially learn, maybe ask some questions, contribute to the conversation a little bit. So we kind of look at all possible angles. We only looked at 2 stages of Lijiang Tower, but there's a lot of great points. We look at resourcefulness, we look at off angles, we look at how to communicate properly, how to position yourself. So a lot of very important stuff for all D.Va players. And we also look at some Chohyobin VODs for the same map to see what he does that Law maybe doesn't. So a lot of great conclusions that were reached in this one, and I hope you enjoy the video. All right, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's episode 4 of Mineral Coaches now. I'm here with Law, a 4.3k peak D.Va, and his coach is also sitting in on the session. And we're basically just going to review a Lijiang Tower. It's going to be a relatively short one, just 2 stages, but we're going to go pretty in depth on some concepts. And since there's not too much to review in terms of raw, like the amount of time we have with just 2 rounds, we're also going to look at Chohyobin's from San Francisco Shock. We're going to look at some of his POVs and kind of compare and contrast with what we see from Law. So if you guys could introduce yourselves, first of all, obviously, Law, your goal with Overwatch, what you're up to, your team, and all that type of stuff.
Okay, so I'm Law. I'm 14 and I play for Team DXD. Right now, I guess my goal is to just I'd like to get to top OD. Right now, I think I'd love to do that with my current, because they've already done it without me. And yeah, I guess I just kind of play Overwatch and enjoy it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Keyboard, who is your coach, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mr. Keyboard. I've been coaching Law for not really long now, but I've been coaching for Team DXD for a couple of months now, and we played first OD and went 8-3. And Law is part of our new roster, so he's joined only maybe 2 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're looking forward to make him feel good about this roster.
Mm-hmm. So from what you've seen from Law, what do you feel like his strengths and weaknesses are?
I think he has a good game sense. He has good game sense and decision making, but he sometimes maybe goes a little bit too much offensive and lacks some defensive awareness. I'd say that's what I've seen the most.
Mm-hmm. So from looking through the 2 rounds, what I noticed most, and sort of the key concepts that we're going to discuss are off angles and when to take them, when not to take them. We're going to talk a little bit about reading your own team's movement and cooldowns, because your positioning needs to change based on that. We're going to have a couple examples of that. We're also going to talk about matrix management and then resourcefulness, because something I saw was that you aren't super vocal. Like if someone else is speaking, you can't really hear your voice that much. You don't really play call too much. And there are situations when sometimes you take too much damage, but you don't let your team know. And we're going to talk about why that is important. Okay. All right. So let's head into the VOD.
Yes, Storms. The only Molazi Saya. And mine. I'm spinning off epic on point. Come on point.
Yeah, from everyone point.
Point is spotted. I mean personal.
On the right, on the right. Push the right.
This first fight's pretty clean. Not too much to go through. So, what are you not doing now that you could be doing in between fights?
We should have already started like old tracking, making plan for the next one.
Yeah, but I mean, just from your perspective, what could you be doing as a D.Va that your team can't be doing, shouldn't be doing. I mean, what you as a D.Va should be doing that you aren't right now?
Probably like seeing where the enemy is gonna push from and seeing what they're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. You can scout. You can either fly up and look, or you can go towards the right side and you can see the spawn from there, and then you can call a little earlier for your team which way they're coming, whether they're coming top, whether they're coming main, whether they're coming right side, because then you guys can position yourselves accordingly and get to like beat them to the corner, right? And then you can communicate to your team, because right now your team is just holding here, but you're not really providing any scouting, and it's super important before every fight, if at all possible, as a D.Va, just try and do as much scouting as possible. Okay.
Yep.
We hold close and then we can back up the point then. We can just kite them around.
Yeah. So you guys say you're gonna hold close, but then you can kite back to point, which is fine. It's very difficult to break the choke. It's fine to go for a bubble trade here, and then unless you get a really huge advantage and want to go for an all-in, it's completely fine to fall back to the point, because you can play a really strong corner on the point. So nothing wrong with the plan here.
So hold them here, just keep...
Oh, and also if you guys have any questions at any point, just ask. Just don't feel free to interrupt me or pause or whatever.
Okay.
I'm gonna shatter after, back up.
Okay, so you guys force out the transfers first, which is very, very good. And your Ryan calls that he's gonna shatter, so you're calling to back off and that he's gonna shatter. So he's already preemptively calling a tempo shift, right? Like he's saying we're gonna fall back with the intention to turn it with an ultimate, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you also need to pay attention before the fight to your support ultimates. So if we take a look, because you checked the ults here, I think. Wait. As soon as you fly up, I think you check the ults. So your Zen is pretty close to the trance. You won the fight, so you should be getting the trance first most of the time. Ideally, he will call mid-fight. I'm close to trance. I have trance. We can turn with trance. It's sort of what your Reinhardt did. We can turn with shatter, but your Zen should also be calling that. Then it's a lot easier for you to reposition yourself, but you should also understand that when you guys won the first fight so cleanly, you will usually get your trance first.
We hold close and then we can back up the point then. We can just kite them around. They probably might go the main. If they go main, it's really good for us. So hold them here, just keep...
And the reason I'm pointing that out is when they use it, now you guys have the tools to turn the fight. Force them to overreach, and then you guys can turn potentially with a better trance. Because in this is like a unique situation where I don't think they have Graviton still because of how easily you wiped them in the first fight, and they use the trance first, so you could potentially just trade trances. Especially if you guys get really low. And if that's the case, if you guys are planning to turn with trance, you guys fall back this way, and you can still keep this position, because you guys will be turning with trance. The trance will come in, and even if you draw out aggression and they focus you, like your Zen is going to be able to top you up, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because that's what you're doing right now. Like this position is perfect in anticipation for the tempo shift. Like when you guys have already baited him in, you have a perfect off angle here towards the back line. Your Zen trances, so you can keep the space. You could even move this way and keep shooting Ryan in the back, and there's nothing they can really do. Superplug hosted with 1 viewer. Thank you very much for the huge host, Superplug. But now you're already falling back, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have a better chance. You will out-sustain them. You guys could be pushing this advantage so much harder, but you're taking such a defensive route, right? And now you're already you're turning the fight, but now you are out of position and your Zari is out of position. And you could have been like way over there. You could have even probably not flown up on the high ground, but you could have had an off angle and just shot them in the back and easily followed up on this.
Trend shatter.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sinonid, thanks for the follow. But yeah, now you and Zari are both trailing the play, even though ult-wise you guys played it really well. even so, you guys get the first kill, right? So
Yeah.
when this happens, when you get this kill, what should your focus be?
We should be trying to like push up and extend our lead, look for another kill.
Yeah, either that or protect the lead, right? Because you killed the Zarya, so potentially if because in their minds they'll be like, okay, we need to make a fast. We don't have our main damage dealer. The only way we win this fight is if we trade a kill back immediately. But if you guys play slow with your own Zarya, then you guys just mathematically win, right? And you also have to remember they are playing. They have just rallied. Their D.Va has an off angle, right? And your shield is low, and you're calling to push around the corner, right? So as you're pushing around the corner, the D.Va is going to be shooting you in the back, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ideally, this isn't even an issue. If you didn't shift out in the beginning of the fight, you would be holding down this position. Their D.Va would be back there, and you guys have a lot more choices. Then you guys can really pressure them back like this, right? You guys are controlling all of the map, but now you're only controlling this instead of controlling all of this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then she's still a threat because you guys are pushing around the corner and she can make plays. So ideally, step number 1, you should have that position. Number 2, be very careful here because you are pushing around the corner. And you see, like now you guys are starting to focus her. And here, instead of rushing them, you could potentially just ask for a discord on the D.Va. Your Zarya would beam her. You just hold shield and play this corner further back, and then she has to shift out. And that's another way in which you can gain all of this map control. And after that, they can't really do anything. They can't really trade a kill back. They have to either fall back or they just die out. You slowly, methodically protect your lead and kind of close it out. But now you guys are sort of taking a risk and still give them a chance to potentially turn the fight. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
You see, you are shooting. This is what I talked about being resourceful. You are shooting the D.Va. You identify clearly that she is a threat, but you don't call for a play. Like here, you could easily say, push the D.Va, push the D.Va. Boom, your Zen immediately discords, your Zarya shoots her, and she shifts out. And then you take her spot, right? Hello?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the part of being resourceful. Like you see this, but you don't call it out. So you as a D.Va, you also need to be. There are situations where you see what your teammates don't see, and you have to be the playmaker, or like you have to call for plays. Because now you guys are completely exposed to 2 people in the back. I think Lucio was there too, right? Let's take a look real quick. Yeah, like Lucio's there too. So you guys are sort of sandwiching yourselves. And you also have to remember he has a mega to fall back to. So you guys are saying, we're going to push around this corner. He's going to get the mega, so we need to burst 700 HP Reinhardt, who has a ticking rally, who's probably going to get armor, who has a passive healing from Brig. Like, it's going to be very difficult to convert this skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you could easily just shove the D.Va. And now it's just messy, you know? You guys were in a position where you could completely dictate the pace of the fight, choose how you want to take it, slowly push them out. But now it's just kind of devolved into a really messy fight because it's taken 20 seconds. Now everyone's using ults reactively. You don't have control anymore.
I'm 96 on chapter. We can grab bomb. Go for grab bomb.
So in this situation, you guys call for grab bomb, right? But their Zarya should have a grab, right?
Yeah.
So did you guys manage to catch the video that I made on the grab combo? How Althing's using?
I already did a review with them talking about it. They didn't know yet. We didn't have time to.
Oh, okay.
Have this one of our first stream, I believe, maybe the second one after we made the roster. So
yeah. So in this situation, they're coming back. Presumably they have a grab. Where do you position your? So let's take a look. Where should you position yourself, and what's your goal as a D.Va here?
I think I could probably be like more to the right, kind of off angle, like watching Zarya as she plays on a grab.
I would say you should be more in the back and just use your bomb as a defensive ult. You can counter grab, so
Yeah.
you can
Oh yeah.
Ryan
Yeah.
cannot pin.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with your coach because if you go here, it's still going to be because especially since you guys are one man down, you can't really you can hold this corner but you can't protect it because your Ryan doesn't have a bubble. So you will as soon as they start pushing, you will have to start kiting. And if you start kiting and you're positioned here and your Ryan is here, there's a very high risk that one like you are going to take the same damage that your Reinhardt is taking as they're pushing in. There's also a chance that Zarya will peek out here and just melt you, which means you have to shift out. And if you shift out, then you won't have the opportunity to counter bomb, right? Or like throw it into the enemy grab, right? So there's just a lot of things that can go wrong. But if you play further back, say over there by the window, then you still potentially have a corner to hide behind. Like the Zarya can't pressure you. If they use their graph combo, you can counter bomb and still have a corner to hide behind. Whereas again, like here, you might not have that option because if you bomb, you might not be able to fall back. And even if you counter bomb, your baby might die to their bomb, right? So there's just a lot of things that can go wrong. So in this situation, yeah, probably further back as your Reinhardt is falling back, you also have the opportunity to potentially take aggro from him by pushing an off angle. You know, so if Ryan is starting here, you're starting further back. He starts kiting, and then you can start moving up a little and relieve some pressure from him, you know? So you have just a lot more choices of how to play if you take that position. But yeah, like now you guys are so stacked that eventually, like, you know, you're so close to these guys, all of you will pretty much be taking the swing damage. And also now you, like, this bomb is not a threat to you if you're just hiding further behind. And you could even like counter bomb the bomb, you know?
Yeah.
But now instead you have to bomb to remake.
Have they used Graviton?
No.
They still have Graviton. I also will have beat.
If they beat, we got it. I think we just we play for ults now because we are basically one fight.
The D.Va is standing. She's looking to go off.
We should be able to stun her. Stun and kill. Stun and kill.
Go top.
Okay, so you guys called out that the D.Va's gonna look to boop, but then she still kind of gets away with it, right? So in general, when you clear corners and you know that D.Va is gonna be booping or Lucio is above you to boop, usually you want your D.Va to peek the corner first and push that target away, or at least neutralize that place that you guys can dictate when you want to drop, right?
Yeah.
But now your Reinhardt is clearing the corner first, and even though you guys called it, he goes out way too far. So you guys could potentially go out together up to here, and then you could start pressuring her, and she has to fall away, and then you're all of a sudden one cooldown ahead already, and you've neutralized the boop.
Yeah.
No, the D.Va.
Oh. Okay, so here also in terms of matrix management, it's just very important again to read the enemy movement so you don't just panic matrix. So in this situation, is your Reinhardt under immediate threat?
Not right now.
There's still he still maintains a pretty safe distance. D.Va isn't shooting him in the back. It is an off angle, but it isn't, you know, it isn't this type of an off angle where he has to angle his shield, and like he can still shield damage from both sources. And also you still have a target bubble. So you have a lot of resources to save him, and he's not in immediate threat. Even now, he's under a lot of pressure, but you still have a bubble. But now you've bubbled and you've exhausted all of your matrix before they even did anything. Like the only one that really pressured was the break. Otherwise, they just kind of shot at you. And then now they have an opening to potentially just move all in if they wanted to. Because you guys just wasted all your resources. So also just try to read their movement. If they would have all in, you can use full matrix. If not, just cancel it and then save a little bit for the potential all in a little later on. Especially since you guys called that they should have a graviton. So when you just exhaust all of your matrix here, either they just all in and kill you, or they just grab you and they kill you. For some reason, they fall back and they don't really do anything. Well, they just win with a shatter. Hmm.
No, the D.Va.
I got stunned there.
So D.Va is taken off angle now, right?
Yeah.
But so how do you neutral? Like if D.Va takes an off angle and it's annoying, how can you deal with it?
But when she pooped off our run.
No, just in general. Like if a D.Va takes an off angle, what are the ways to neutralize the effectiveness of an off angle?
Probably like, I think if you push like the main team, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Exactly. Yeah. You
Create distance from her.
Exactly. You either shoot her and pressure out of the position, or which you could have done in the first their first reading. You know what we talked about, or in this situation. Since you guys get some kills, you can just push away from her. Then that off angle isn't really worth anything, and she has to drop from it and then kind of chase after you guys, and then she's trailing the play. And also, you have to pay attention when you go for these duels, D.Va versus D.Va duels. If you're not getting any help, if you're not getting a Discord, if you're not getting your Lucio helping you. Wait, my title is wrong. Anyway, if you don't get a Lucio helping you, you have to pay attention to your HP. You know, like this is very risky because when she flew up, she was way healthier than you. So you either call for resources, heal me, help me push this D.Va, and then instead of pushing the point, all of you guys try and focus and demech her and then slowly push towards the point, or you just ignore her and push away from her, right?
Yeah.
But now your team is chasing and you don't have shift to kind of catch up, and you could be getting all the rally healing here, but instead you're paying attention to her. You have to matrix her a bit because you lost so much HP, and you're just trailing, right? And now you start shifting because like we're already on point. I need to catch up to the play, so you don't really see what's going on with your Reinhardt. Like you don't see what's going on behind this wall, so you don't really see that he's this low. And then your goal with this shift is to let me get on point to help my team, but then mid shift you see shit he's low, and then you have to change it. You know, so you guys had a decent opening here to win. You have your Zarya alive. They don't have a Rhine. I think you guys had a Rhine, I believe. But you guys split up a little bit just for a moment, and either you guys pushing D.Va together or pushing away together, but you guys need to do it together, because that's what kind of loses you this fight. You still get the trans and the bomb, which is fine. It's not a bad retake fight from an ult economy perspective, but you could still do better from a teamwork perspective. Hold on, let me just change the title.
For the deal, we have to get this standard.
Yeah, play another fight slow, and if we get the ult, call it.
Did they just grab that fight?
They will have Graviton trans.
I don't know if that.
We're gonna drop Grim.
Okay, so issue number one, you're taking way too much damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's partially your fault. It's partially what else? What kind of team call would help you to kind of position yourself correctly?
I guess we'll be calling when we're going together.
Yeah, but also one thing that could really help you and help the whole team if you guys are more specific with your pathing. You know, are we gonna go this way and drop, or are we gonna go this way and drop, right? Because if you look at it, it's really kind of what messes you up, because you're not in sync with your Reinhardt here. You're stepping forward here. You're already moving this way. You're looking to kind of matrix through your team,
Uh-huh.
Because I think you probably expect to drop here. You know, you taking a step to the left, I think it's because you expect your Reinhardt to stay and shield you here, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys didn't specify that you're going that way.
Uh-huh.
And now you step way too far to this side. Now your matrix is on cooldown. The rest of your team is crossing, but this jump to the left kind of puts you in a position where you can't take this unnecessary poke. Now you catch up to the shield, and everyone's, and like you said, you identified it correctly. Everyone's too slow. Like if everyone makes this cross together, then you don't have to go back and forth as much. Neither does your Reinhardt, so you can all save resources. Now, what do you need to say now?
I need heals. Heal D.Va.
And what else?
Let's wait.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. Again, resourcefulness. Tell your team what to do. You know, not everyone might realize that you're low. Say if your Reinhardt is standing here and he doesn't see that you're low, and he just says, okay, let's drop. And if you guys draw, so let's see. You get orb, and your Lucio uses his healing aura. So you're already, and I think you might have gotten the armor too, I'm not sure. But either way, you blew the healing boost, so you can't really take a fight yet. In general, like in this situation, it's more forgivable because they're playing further back, but in general, it's super important that everyone's on the same page. We just blew some major cooldowns. Let's heal up and then take the fight. Because if we take the fight now, we're basically 2 major cooldowns down. We have to keep orb on our D.Va, so which means our Reinhardt isn't getting that resource, and we're starting with 300 HP disadvantage. And when you're retaking, and you're retaking into an energy advantage, you really don't want to put yourself in that type of a position. You don't want to give anything for free, and that's something you can completely control, and you have to call that. I'm sorry.
Watch out for Graviton.
So you said wait. So you call for a D.Va bomb dive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're still in it. Like they still haven't used their grab. They've held it the whole game, right? Or did I miss it? Yeah. So still, this same concept as before. You can't really bomb it. Like even if you bomb it, a good Zarya will just immediately grab your Reinhardt, and then there's no follow up.
Yeah.
And also, if you do bomb, you need like a little better placement, because this placement really isn't that good. Like it lands in a corner, so it doesn't even split. You don't need kills, but you need to at least split someone. So if your team is pushing in, you can catch a target that is split up, or at least force out an ultimate. But the way you put it in the corner, it's very easy for all of them to just fall back to that corner and shield it off.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can slide it off corners here, you can slide it off corners there, just be a little more tricky. Obviously, again, you took a little too much damage. You went down to like 100 HP, so you kind of were forced to, but just think about that too. Yeah. You guys used bomb and beat to engage, but it was so easy for them to disengage and neutralize both of them, and then they tempo shifted with their support ult, you know? Like what I told you guys should have collectively have done as a team with the trance on that first retake. They did the same thing, but with the beat here. They kite out your beat, and then they re-engage with their own beat. And you also get nothing with the bomb because of it, so... So that's important in terms of ult usage and planning. And you can also take turns a little bit more. If there are situations when you want to engage with the D.Va bomb, you don't have to beat immediately. Like try to spread those ultimates more. See if your D.Va bomb can force out a support ult, and then you can cut back, and then you guys can re-engage with a better support. So you're like using one at a time, because there they overlapped so much, and they neutralize both of them, and then they can just wipe you with their own. So you need to be like a little more economic with the way you guys use it. So.
Discord's on Ryan.
Hello. They have no projected either.
Ryan discorded.
Trying to save shield.
Okay, so in this situation, you pretty much lose your team the fight. So let's take a look at what you can do better. But what do you think you did wrong? What is your own analysis of the situation?
I think I should have taken that top right high ground like as soon as I had my boosters.
So yeah, like, you can pretty much even do it now, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's good. Obviously, you take an off angle, and
I have a good question though.
yeah.
I saw this morning the patch on PTR. Isn't it something that will be really quickly outdated since the matrix will only be 10 meters instead of 15 using that high ground?
Mm-hmm. So it's difficult to say, but the way I see it is the value of an off angle. The most of the value of an off angle is the fact that you can draw aggression, right? You can pull resources towards yourself, and if you can pull enemy resources towards yourself, absorb them without taking critical damage, then all of a sudden the rest of your team just has so much more space to be aggressive, so much more space to, kite back if your HP is low, and sort of take a breath, right? And I think the fact that you can also peel from long range, from like a far off angle, is just kind of a bonus, because obviously if you fly up there and they push you guys, then you can still drop and you can still matrix. I think what you're saying is correct, but I think it's going to be more applicable to bigger maps where you're playing really far away from your team. But in this situation, you're playing an off angle that if they don't contest you guys and if they push you, then you can still drop and you are within 10 meters range, right?
Okay.
Because this map is kind of small. Another thing you can do is take an off angle here, draw some resources towards yourself there potentially. But yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like going left is probably a little bit more optimal. Like it's just personal, but I think D.Va up there doesn't do that much compared to what she can do at closer range.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong, but...
yeah. I mean, it just kind of depends how the enemy moves as well. If the enemy team moves this way, then yeah, like it's a little harder for you to do anything. You're probably gonna abandon that. If the enemy team moves this way, then you're probably abandoning that position, dropping and trying to pressure the backline. But if they are pushing this way, then it is a very strong position. If
I get like the point you're saying is basically on high ground you can drop, and so you have that advantage you don't have when you're pushing left.
Yeah, and also if the enemy D.Va flies up to contest you, then you have boosters and she doesn't for a period of time. So that's like another cool. If you're up there first, and she comes up to contest you, that's how you can get up like a cooldown advantage as well.
Yeah.
And here again, like if they push you guys this way as a team and you just hold that position and your team kites back, you can still get a ton of value from that spot. Like the Ryan eventually has to angle up his shield, and you can still do a lot, I think. But yeah, the most important thing is that you can take an off angle. Yeah. So in this situation, what can you guys do?
We should probably go to the left when the D.Va takes the high ground, the right.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be able to use anymore.
Yep. Either you try to push her off of that, or you do exactly that. Like you guys try to take this, you can potentially stay here. Although it might be difficult because you might eat damage from two different angles. It might be a little harder for you to manage your HP. But yeah, you can potentially push away from them. And at this point, you can't really, like this is the same situation as we saw in the example on the previous one, where I'm like, you need to think, can I really win this duel? If you think about it, you've already used this much matrix. When she flew up here, she's pretty much going to be full matrix and full HP. So you're starting the trade essentially, 180 HP down, and with a third of your matrix. So just mathematically, there's no chance you're going to come out on top in this duel unless, again, you're resourceful. Can you discord the D.Va? Yeah, she's discorded, and then you fly up, and then she has to drop, right?
Yeah.
But instead, you are the one that gets discorded, and then she doesn't. So now you're just getting now because you get discorded. This is like a fight losing error. So either you don't take that duel, or you're asking for more resources when you do it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, there's not really much you guys can do. And something like you can see that their D.Va is doing as well. Something you didn't really do, like she just takes this position. It's also a small high ground where she can shoot whoever she wants, and yeah, like she's very exposed from all angles. She can get shot a lot, and it's not a position you're gonna look to keep for an entire fight, but it's a nice position to take, pressure a little bit, draw aggro, and then drop, and then again it creates space for the rest of your team. And now when she's not getting pressured, she's just getting so, like she's getting so much ult charge now. And until she's pushed away, there's nothing you guys can really do. And that's something I noticed you guys didn't really, look for discords on the D.Va. You guys didn't really try to push her away collectively as a team. Same thing as the stage before, so it's very important to watch that. When she beats you to a position that you guys should be fighting for, either move away from it or try and push her away together.
Yep.
Split for Shadow, then we can look for early Shadow. Go for main. Yeah. Plus on.
Now you do beat him to that position. Something you can also do is potentially go white room. If you see them surrendering all this space and no one's contesting it. Like usually, say if you're playing against Vancouver, you'll see Bumper holding here, Suminsu holding here, and then Janu holding here. Like an insane crossfire, so you can't really push past this spot. But right now, your opponents are just kind of giving it up. So
Yeah.
it's also like either your Zarya or your D.Va can like take this space as well, and then automatically they draw resources. Then someone else can take this space because they're not controlling any of the off angles. So you guys can take it slow. Take these for yourselves. Like you could potentially go this way. Your Zarya could go this way, and you guys have more options.
Yeah.
It's just something to punish when teams don't abuse off angles. But you do get an off angle, you do get high ground, but you lose your dice, so there's not much you can do. Oh, another interesting thing. You see, this guy, he sees you, and he immediately says, "Give me bubble," right? D.Va up top, give me bubble. Boom, he even gets the Zarya bubble. So now he's gonna lose no HP, probably get a little bit of charge for his Zarya, and completely push you away, and just win this trade really, really hard, and force you to boost out. So again, resourcefulness. Not only asking for Discord. Do you have bubble? Okay, can you give me to me? I'm gonna push the D.Va. Okay, boom. These mid-fight calls are super important to kind of fight for map control.
Yeah.
Let's see, you have a question. My question with that position as D.Va is that if you take that high ground and your team isn't able to kite, aren't you in trouble? If you mean this position, not really, because this isn't really a position where their whole team can push you. Like, you are potentially in trouble. Well, I mean, if your team isn't kiting, then it's completely fine, because then it means your team is holding this area and then you're dropping behind your team if you get pushed out of that position. Otherwise, you can also fall back there, and you have so much cover, and it's so hard to shoot you up there. So yeah, if your team isn't kiting, I don't think it's a problem at all. What should you do now?
I think I should probably go spawn and get my mech right now.
Yeah, or just jump down.
Jump
I think
off,
you were at 50%. So you want to just jump off.
Yeah.
If you don't jump off, what do you need to do? Say this is a situation where so let's see, what's the percentage now? So say this is at
51.
Yeah, this is at 51, but say it's at 82. So you don't have time to really jump down. What do you need to tell your team?
That I don't have mech.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
one?
Play slow. Let me get mech. Don't fight. Obviously, your team should realize that themselves. But again, it's one of those situations where it's not really hard for you, and it's something like you can't really contribute to the fight, whether it's being low HP, whether it's being out of mech. So you can just help your team.
Oh no.
Okay, 60.
Because you have plenty of time to just farm that mech back. They're not pressuring the choke point. But now your Reinhardt and your big is also moving in that direction. They've put themselves in a position where they can all in. Like, if you're on their side, you're like, guys, they still have a baby D.Va. Let's just all in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We have another question regarding that situation. But it becomes a 65 for their team. With you getting minimal value off angling as D.Va. Otherwise, I can see that D.Va high ground spot being OP, especially with like Fire Strike, Zen D.Va, Fly Rocket Kill. I don't really understand the question. I mean, it's just like anytime you can take high ground, you should try to, because you can always drop down and you can always move forward. And what that position on the balcony over there does is that you go further away from the shield. So if your team is kiting, you're shooting them in the back. If your team is moving forward, you're already ahead of your team a little bit, and you can just drop and push together in a line, you know? So if you can control that without taking any damage, there's no real downsides, the way I see it, at least.
I guess we have to slow fight then. I don't know.
And yeah, you guys are fighting with the baby D.Va, so you just give them a free fight.
Okay, do you use rally shadow?
Yeah, and now you jump down, but it just costs a lot of percentage.
Trend speed.
We have to engage now, kinda. Like, go for the bomb behind them and then just look for the shadow.
That was a potentially winnable fight too. You know, they did have a lot of ults, but so did you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we will get it.
No, we want to keep the bomb for the grab. They're gonna have grab.
Yeah, we keep bomb for the grab. Good call, whoever made that call.
But it's last fight. So yeah, to engage first.
Use bubble. Blind disc.
Push around, push around.
Touch.
Okay, so what is your mistake here?
No, we want to keep
Like, I pushed up without my team because I was worried about like not being able to touch the point.
They're gonna have grab.
Mm-hmm. But do you think you can ever touch the point as a D.Va in this situation?
No.
No, not really right now.
Yeah, it's too far. You will never be able to. What else did you miss that's important for you to pay attention to?
There was the D.Va on the right side.
For the grab. They're gonna have grab.
But what else? If you're looking at your own team.
Like they weren't ready to push in with me, yeah, and they used bubble right there. She's bubble.
Exactly. As soon as you use this means you're waiting for your next bubble rotation to push around this corner. Because if you use the bubble, you bubble here, these guys, your rest of your team is not gonna push up. So you're charging up a little bit, and then as soon as it's up, then you guys can take it as a team, like just rush out. So you should understand, like, there's no way we're gonna be pushing, but you step in front of shield before it comes out. So even if the D.Va doesn't have this position, your team isn't pushing forward right now. You know, and you're putting yourself in a position where all of them can shoot you.
Yeah.
Because you're not taking the corner as a team, yeah. And now when you turn yourself like this, now you're getting shot from here and from like 4 people in the back.
Yeah.
And you were planning to use this for their grab, so now your biggest counterplay is gone. So in reality, you've already kind of lost the fight. Because they should just snap the grab and kill you all. But you're lucky that for some inexplicable reason, their Reinhardt chooses to pin into all of you guys.
Yeah, that was really bad.
Yeah.
Push around, push around.
Touch.
And they also waste a trance on top of that. So they kind of let you guys back in the game.
The break.
Yeah, you see, like, D.Va's on that position and you push her away, which is good.
Stand right side, stand on line.
And now you keep that position.
Watch out for shadow. Shadow equipped on fence.
Go for rally shadow. Rally first, if they engage and then go for shadow.
Oops.
What do they have?
Okay, so what could you be doing here?
I think we should be like up next to the choke.
And where could you be?
I could be like on the right where their D.Va was, I think,
Yeah,
and try and
exactly.
loop their right to our team.
Yeah, because you guys... Wait, let me see. What was your ult economy? Yeah. So I mean, you guys have the support ultimates to hold that corner. You know, you guys have the rally. If they push out, you can easily rally and
Go for rally shadow.
survive. You know, because if even if say you're holding here, the enemies are pushing in, and you guys use the rally. If they focus you, then the rest of your team with the rally will be able to destroy the backline. If they don't focus you, then everyone's going to be fighting here, and you're just going to be shooting them in the back. You can either find a kill in the Zen, or you can boop in the Reinhardt, or just farm up your ultimate. You're going to get your ultimate so fast using that angle. You know, just like how their D.Va was doing.
Rally first, if they engage, and then go for shadow. What do they have again?
Oh, they're not even.
And also, you don't want to play too close to your Reinhardt. And another reason is, again, what I touched on in the previous stage. You don't want to be taking the same damage that your Reinhardt is taking. You know, if the Brig is swinging, if the Reinhardt is swinging, you don't want to be taking the same damage. Same thing goes for Brig. These heroes that kind of play close to Reinhardt, you still need to be able to read a distance, anticipate. If they're pushing into you, how can you manage the distance to not take that damage, and then kind of repush with your own cooldowns? Because now your Brig is in front of your Ryan. Like your Ryan should be holding this.
Yeah.
Default and Natter, thanks for the follows.
Only shadow.
Okay, rally in them and look for the shadow. Yeah, that is it.
Possibly no problem.
Yeah, like now all of you are so clumped up. All of you are gonna eat the same damage. And if like a Zen peeks there to try and right click your Reinhardt, and your Reinhardt puts his shield down like he does now, boom, you're eating in so much spam, and now you're fighting from a disadvantage. Like, of course, having this corner is always gonna be your biggest advantage, but you don't want to give up HP for free.
If the D.Va won't be split into them.
Yeah, and the same thing for your break. She drops. But again, if you're there, their Zen is discorded. That's a potential free kill. And then you can maybe clutch the fight.
Yeah.
But now they don't have anything to worry about. And again, maybe you would have farmed up your ult. Maybe you could have counterbombed this grab. There's so many things that can happen if you just play those positions.
Yep.
G-Force 2, thanks for the phone. Okay, and I think it's over. So that was it for Lijiang. So let's head to the second VOD. We're just gonna take a look at how Choihyobin of San Francisco Shock played these two stages to see if we can kind of decipher like what he does that you don't do, or what maybe there's some mistakes that he makes that you also made. So let's take a look at that. Okay. Are you guys on the second VOD?
Yeah.
Mr. Keyboard OW with the Prime. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. You guys in? You see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Footmob says that he's watched Choi in this map like 1,000,000 times, and he's fantastic. Yeah, he doesn't make too many mistakes. My account name is thanks for the follow. Okay, wait. Yeah, like he's always sort of keeping a safe distance from his Ryan. Like he's sort of spreading out just enough and helping his team very well. Let's see. Let's go into the next fight. Okay, so he takes the same position as you did. And yeah, you see, like he's immediately scouting. Where are they going? It looks like they might be going main. Definitely not top. Definitely not top. Okay, if they're not going top, then the Shock knows that they just need to deny this corner or the corner below you, right? And if they're not going top, and if they potentially fake and they go below, then you can potentially keep that position as well. You know, there's just more room, and that's why that information is super important. And especially at the highest level, teams fake a lot. They go here, then they go here again. You see how they're kind of faking out to neutralize corner advantages. Ooh, now they go that way. And you see how willingly, because they couldn't meet them at the corner here, because they they got faked out and they couldn't keep this, they just immediately fall back and go to the next corner that is super oppressive, right?
Uh-huh.
And now, like, good luck breaking through that. All right, let's see his positioning here. Yeah, you see? He's sort of playing around this corner.
Yeah.
Because Super is gonna take all the damage. When everyone speed boosts in on him, he's gonna tank the damage. He's gonna be stepping backwards a little bit. He's gonna get the bubble, and then Moth is in a position to kind of boop from an off angle. And Brig is sort of playing an off angle too, in case they push him here. He can bash. He can also boop. So the way everyone's space is out here, including Choi, is very, very good, and it makes taking this point very, very hard. Yeah, and like Footmob says, Choi is always, I'm getting out of here when he gets discorded. That's true as well. Yeah, you see, like he's taken a lot of damage, but he gets the bubble. And then immediately when Choi sees it, he's moving forward, just like I said. And because he moves forward, he's pulling the Discord, he's pulling the Lucio aggro, he's pulling the Zarya aggro. And this means that Violet has time to farm up his trance, and they can save Super.
That's That's really good.
Yeah, exactly. And immediately, as soon as he sees this, he knows my job is done. Just by moving like this, I've done my job. They're gonna focus me just make sure I don't take any more damage or more than necessary. And he does take a lot of damage, but he could have. So because Gushu has stepped like this, he thought they were gonna push him, and he wanted to probably boop him. Because Violet probably was calling that he's close to trance. So this little movement by Gusha kind of faked him out. Otherwise, I think he would have just shifted out. So he takes a little more damage than necessary, but still, like, he buys enough time for these ults to come online, for Super to get healed up, and now you can have a proper fight again. Oops. And now he's just waiting for the trance to come out. And now he knows he's going to get topped up. And because he has trance, he knows he can be a lot more aggressive. And the way he takes an off angle now as well. Even if these guys turn and shoot him, then Super's going to get a lot of done. Or Rascal's going to get a lot of done, right?
Yeah.
Godsby can't really grab without pushing Choi away. And Choi has like a corner to play behind. And like this kind of mid-fight crossfire that he set up is really, really good. And again, he knows he can get away with this because he just got topped up by Trance. Because he knows a lot of cooldowns have already been used by Hangzhou. And he knows that like he's still getting the ticks from Rascal. Like he's playing pretty close with the Brig.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the D.Va Bomb kind of zoned him into the team, so. But still, like, he did a lot of good things in this fight to kind of bail his team out and, like, draw aggro, still save his HP, not losing mech while taking those off angles.
Yeah.
We'll answer the rest of the chat questions when we're done with this VOD. See if there's interesting discussion to be had as well. Yeah, and they just end up cleaning out. Oh, cleaning up, sorry. And again, he's just scouting, seeing where everyone's going.
Could you go back for a second?
Uh-huh.
I want to jump, like what he did, like near the end of the fight.
Okay.
He's doing that to like try and bail out the grab, right? From God SB, and he flicks the matrix behind, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you mean this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's, again, like your coach said, this is something that might be in the new patch, in the PTR patch, might be harder to do because I think, one, the matrix is a lot more visible.
Huh?
So like what this does is it puts Matrix like behind a wall. So if the Zarya isn't looking at you and paying attention, then she might go, oh, he just used Matrix, it's on cooldown. Because you show the Matrix, you push it away, and then you flick it again. So
Yeah.
if she is not paying attention to you or your movement and just looking at the Matrix animation and is really focused on where to place the grab, then that can work. But I think again in the new patch, one, it's going to be harder to do that from further distance because of the Matrix nerf from 15 to 10 meters, and also I think because it's probably going to be a little more visible. I'm not too sure, but there's potential for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something again. If you know he has grab and you're paying attention to the Zarya, and you use your Matrix a little prematurely, it's something you can do as well to try and catch them off guard. That's a good point. Okay, so here you took way too much damage, right?
Yeah.
What was the mistake?
I think staying right now was when they popped rally, they like went back.
Mm-hmm. What else does he need to pay attention to that we talked about when we looked at your bots?
Matrix.
No, I mean in terms of what your team is doing.
Communication.
No. Towards the end when you were trying to take the off angle.
They just used bubble, right?
Exactly. He used bubble and he used it first. So as soon as this bubble comes out, you're gonna be kiting back as shock and playing that corner, which means you are very far away from there. If shock plays this corner and hasn't used bubble, he can still stay here. But as soon as that bubble comes out, he needs to immediately be stepping towards that side, and he needs to be ready to boost. Boom! Like you see, like he started moving this way, and then he jiggled back this way, and that's what gets him in trouble.
Yeah.
Good job, OW. Thanks for the follow. You see, you're gonna see like he goes left side, and then he goes back right. This, and that's what screws him, and then he overstays that position. He gets greedy, and then he takes critical damage. And when the bash came out, like Godsby could have potentially just snapped his grab. Like he put his team in a very bad situation by playing like that. But again, you see the position he plays? Again, just further back. Opposite side of Reinhardt. You know, if Reinhardt is here, he would be here and then potentially take the off angle like this. Or if Super is falling back like this, then he can take like this just like he did last time. And again, you see the same thing. He starts moving forward. Then he sees that the enemy team isn't. He's reading the enemy team movement. Super is falling back. If these guys would move up to here, then he could advance and keep making this sort of a bigger angle. But once his team falls back, and the enemy team just holds this, then he can't really go here, right?
Yeah.
Now he can again and again. Because he's pushing forward, he gets the gravity because there's so many things to worry about. You know, like they're so spread out, and he's taking this angle again, and that's how you can eat a lot more grabs too. You know, he's pulling so many resources from the enemy team here. He got a little unlucky.
He slided off.
Yeah,
right.
he slided off. Yeah. And it's fine if his team has the resources to push or have an ult that they're pushing with, which maybe they were because they beat it. But they eat the grav. So if the grav came out, they just win this pretty easily, and he doesn't get demeched. And then if that grav comes out, he's just shooting in the back of the grav. So the Reinhardt has to re-angle his shield, and then it's completely fine. It's just a little unfortunate, but they still 100-0. So a lot of things that he did. Well, they're number one, scouting before the fight. There was one mistake that he made there, like overstaying in the position. Other than that, he's taking off angles very well. He's reading the enemy team movement. Usually he's reading his team's movement as well.
Yeah.
and he's never taking unnecessary damage unless he's doing it when he's taking an off angle, and then there's purpose to it.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain like reading the enemy? Like how? What do you exactly?
Well, you're basically looking at the way the enemy Reinhardt is moving, or what they're looking at potentially. You know, like we saw in the first example. Like I said, when as soon as 3 people started looking at him, he's immediately, I'm out of here, right?
Yeah.
He draws Discord, he's out of there. And you're also reading the enemy Reinhardt movement. So if he's moving forward and you see that he's kind of tunneling on pushing your Reinhardt, if that's what they're clearly doing, then you can take a wider angle. And you saw like he was a little hesitant to take a wider angle because when I showed Hangzhou still kept their distance. They weren't all in on super, right? So that's sort of what I mean in terms of reading their enemy movement. How far is the Reinhardt going? Like how much wider can I make my angle without taking too much damage, where it actually gets value? You know, where I can get behind shield. Because before Gushui, I kind of committed further forward. The way you want to do it is you want to ideally put yourself at an off angle that allows you to be behind Reinhardt's shield. So you're either shooting him in the back or from the side, or you're forcing him to re-angle the shield towards you. And if he's re-angling the shield towards you, it means someone else who's taking another off angle from the other side can shoot him in the back, and he just can't do anything, right? So that's sort of what I mean in terms of reading the movement. Mostly you're looking at the Reinhardt and like how, because the front line is going to move together with the Reinhardt.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here he takes that off angle, and Rhea takes the left one. He uses boosters immediately. The rest of Shock take over this. You know, but what we said, if you take this position, what should you do? You should probably try and go this way, right? But as soon as they see them going white and Choi secures this position, Shock takes this space, right?
Yeah.
So now the only options that Hangzhou has is either go this way or this way, and whichever way they go, Choi can get value out of this position. Granted that what we said, you know, if they're fighting here, his Matrix probably can't reach on the new patch. But again, if they are pushing this way, you always have the option to drop. If they're overextending here, you can drop and play here. You have so many more options from this spot. So now Shock is controlling the most important part of the map, and they can take advantage of this off angle. So very, very good positioning by Shock here, right?
Yeah.
You know, see, and he drops. So like now the Matrix the sort of distance doesn't really matter because he's in a position where he can shoot. He can still fall back into white and use a corner. He's gonna draw a lot of aggro, and the rest of his team is holding this. You know, so they're suffocating and they're controlling. Like this is what Shock is controlling. Yeah. Whereas if Cho was behind the shield, like they would be controlling this sort of. So the issue here. So I think Shock played really, really well. The issue is, I think, let me see here. Yeah, like Sinatra just overextends a little bit. He pushes this side while discorded. Yeah. And he's not behind shield, so everyone's kind of in a position to shoot him. And instead of like, oh, I'm getting pushed, I need to, or I'm getting spammed, I need to go this way. Because everyone's kind of pressuring forward, he moves forward, and then he has to bubble, and then he just takes too much damage and takes that path, and he kind of dies. But in general, like if Sinatra doesn't die here, if he goes like this, or if he's sort of behind shield or a little more passive, then Choi has this angle. Moth is riding around to potentially boop them, and you know they have everything they need. Shock here, so just kind of an individual mistake. But from a macro perspective, this is played very well by Shock. And usually Sinatra gets away with that type of stuff, you know, and because someone might push Choi, and then when they push Choi, then Sinatra just carries, you know, and so it's just everyone's just kind of very solid, and they understand how to push those advantages. It doesn't work here, but it works majority of the time, you know. And here Choi, you see, like he tries to do what I said. He tries to sneak in and take white room. He's like, maybe I can get this, but the Zen is there, so he can't take it. And you see, this is what I talked about in terms of positioning. See?
Yeah.
Crazy crossfire. And your Choi can't take out the Zarya, so like he's very limited in where he can go. And you're just under so much pressure. And again, I guarantee you here he's calling D.Va left, push D.Va left with me. You know, he sees he knows we need to at least clear this. Because if we clear this, then potentially if he's healthy enough, then he can start taking this angle, and then at least they've cleared one of the off angles, and then potentially can kind of gain map control. You can see, you know, he called Sinatra. I think I'm not sure if he gets discorded here or if it's a Harmony Orb. But yeah, like they force him to shift out again, and now you have a lot more room to do stuff. Maybe Sinatra can potentially control this. Maybe Choi can fly over to the other side, or they can push this together, and they can slowly take map control. And again, that's resourcefulness. Resourcefulness. Like he's just calling for help. Here he chooses to just fly up on that position on top. First of all, he boops away the Lucia there to control it. So now Sinatra can. Oh, sorry. Now Sinatra can push left side. Rascal is pushing this way, and now they've secured the off angles. You know, like Rascal with the rally pushed away the enemy Zarya, and now they got what they need.
Yeah.
So they took the advantage of the positioning, even though they were not having an advantage, starting with this fight with less energy than the enemy team.
Less energy, they had to kite back and give up a lot of space, but then they saw, oh, their D.Va is over peaking in a position where the rest of the team, the enemy team isn't ready to push, you know? So if the enemy isn't ready, because that ideally, by the time Sinatra and Choi started pushing Rhea, Hangzhou should have been able to potentially abuse that and push the rest of the team, right? But because they missed that window, now you're slowly losing map control. You use your shift defensively, and then everything kind of falls apart if you're Hangzhou. But again, everyone has to be comfortable in like asking for resources, making sure, you know, push this D.Va, and then you push her away, and then everything, or Zarya or whatever. And same thing here. He's doing the thing to eat the grav, you know?
Yeah.
Blocks the pin. Big shatter. And they just clean up.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
In a situation where you don't have a D.Va bomb and the enemy team use their ultimate, Zarya ultimate, and you don't have your own Zarya ultimate to counter it, is it a good try to use your boosters to take the pin for maybe your squishy target, like Brigitte, for example?
If the enemies have grav and you don't have D.Va bomb?
Yeah, you don't have D.Va bomb and you don't have your own grav to counter the pin.
Yeah.
Should you try to take the pin for one of your...
Yeah, if you can do it. I think it's kind of hard to pull off most of the time, but pretty much, yeah, like if that's probably the best thing you can do in that situation, because if they pin the Brig, then you're one man down. If they pin out the Rhine towards their own team, then that Reinhardt is isolated and you guys have to chase, and the Reinhardt's probably still gonna die. So yeah, if you can pull that off, then in that situation it's probably fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You see, these guys aren't holding the choke point where you guys were holding and where your enemies were holding. They opt to go on point where they can, you know, they can spread out a little more. And most Overwatch League teams do. You know, they start controlling here, and you can fall back to the next corner, and then you can use this as the corner. There's just more corners to fall behind. Whereas if you're holding the choke point over there, your next corner that you can fall back to is essentially this pillar, and it's a lot further back to go as a defense. You know, and if you have good off angles set up, you trade for a bubble here, you kite back, and then again you set up these crossfires, sort of like Hangzhou did, but they didn't do it as well. But that's sort of the thought process behind why AL teams play like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you see, like, he's starting to take a bit of an off angle. As soon as he gets discorded, he's like, I'm out. And because he's discorded, Super can start pressuring forward, and Rascal can start pressuring forward a little bit. Oops. And he takes very little damage considering he was discorded and he drew Zarya aggro. Okay, let's go next fight. Again, they push up a little bit to just farm Sinatra's Grav. They kind of soft hold this corner, but they fall back very early. They're just looking for a little bit of ult charge because they perceive that they have a better chance on the point, especially since Godspeed's coming back with a Grav. There's a lot more space, you know, to kind of spread out on the point. So, yeah, and it's harder to clear these all of the off angles for the Hangzhou. And let's see. Takes a little bit of unnecessary damage, but it's not too bad. He's not critical. Yeah, see, again, as soon as he starts drawing aggro, he makes sure he watches his HP very well. Zarya is shooting him. Oh, wait, I'm misclicking. I'm trying to press play, but I'm pressing fast forward. Let's see.
Could you back up a little bit? Did
Yeah.
Choyhyobin put himself in a bad position right now so that they would focus him to get the opportunity to get Super to get an opportunity to shatter? Maybe I think he moved forward like quite a bit.
Potentially. I mean, you can see he sees that Super is going this way, so he's going this way, and you're like, okay, pick your poison. You want to push me? Super's gonna have a better advantage. You want to push Super, then I can potentially shoot you in the back, right? Yeah, I mean, it is a risky position, but he knows, like, they're taking this corner together as a team, and Rascal is rallying as well, right?
Yeah.
So he knows he can get away with as soon as the rally comes out and he's playing close enough to Rascal, he knows he can get away with a lot more. Same thing if you remember when they grabbed on point in the previous stage that we watched. He immediately like shifted behind the enemy team because he was close enough to Rascal to still get the rally.
Yeah.
So same thing here. Like, he doesn't have to be too careful because they're making a proactive move forward, all of them. And that's why, you know, he's not really taking that much damage. But now when the ultimates are sort of out, now he has to be a little more careful. Because now they're not making a proactive move forward. They're trying to wait out the trance. So I don't think he necessarily needed to shift here. I think that's kind of what makes him lose so much HP. Because he can easily, I think, go around this corner. And then Godspeed either has to go like this to shoot him, or he starts focusing forward. But potentially, like someone said, if he just steps here, and the rest of the enemy team is pushing forward, and your team is kiting back, then you're really trailing the play if you go this way. So in this situation, he kind of, I think he starts shifting this way, and then he's like, I'm going to be way too far away from the fight if I go that way, and then he wants to return to the point. Like, that's how I interpret this shift usage in this situation. Like, he's like, I mean, I need to get around the corner, but wait, I'm going to be way too far away from the fight. They're still trancing. We're giving up a lot of space. He also knows that Godspeed has his Grav, so he wants to be in a position to potentially eat it.
Yeah.
Which is why he kind of returns. And because of that, he kind of takes a little more damage than needed. But still, his team is still holding this, so they still have a lot of support, so he's still fine. Again, they're kiting back a little bit. Yeah, takes this pillar again. Baits, I think, a Brig cooldown. Lucio goes in to boop him. D.Va shifts at him, and Zarya is shooting him. Look at how many resources he pulled out. And he took, what, like 120 damage for it. And then eats the grab as well, for good measure. Here he bombs, but again, most teams have moved on from this type of bomb just because again you get it countered by grav, you get it countered by like your baby. If they use a defensive bomb for this grav, then your baby dies when you go for this bomb. Like and even when they don't have either of these to counter your grav combo, you can still get booped either by the Lucio or the Brig, which is what happened. You know, like he's shifting up in the air, but Crystal boops him, which is why most D.Vas don't bomb in the air like that inside grabs. You can still do it in certain situations, but that's pretty much why teams don't do it into grabs. And yeah, so I think it's a good example to look at of how he played it. You could even see how your opponent played it in that particular scrim, and how you know, how he got away with some stuff, how he won a lot of duels against you health-wise. So yeah, I think those are the big things. Like you being a little more resourceful, seeing these plays develop, and being more vocal when like, guys, D.Va's over pushing here, pressure her, and then asking for help like that. And then you can see how the whole map can open up if you like step up in that regard, right? Yeah. And then obviously reading the movement and cooldowns is something you can keep paying attention to as you're rewatching your own VODs. You know, oh, what happened here? You know, how did I overextend? Oh, I missed that we used a bubble, or I missed that they're gonna have they had rallies, so they were naturally gonna take a lot more space, and we were gonna kite. So just need to make sure you don't miss those things, and then how to use off angles, how to push into off angles depending on the map. Which high grounds to take, all that stuff. I think there were some good examples here, even though it was a shorter review. I think, yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions?
No, I don't really have one.
Okay, yeah, because I have to run anyway pretty soon. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing from.
All right, everyone, thanks for watching. As always, to support me and this channel, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, if you missed the launch of the Tempo Shift podcast earlier this week, you should go and check that out. I had none other than Harsha of the Vancouver Titans on. We talked about the Titans. We talked about Overwatch League, about the Academy team. There's a lot of interesting discussions to be found there. And beyond that, if you want to learn about the game some more, you should certainly join our community. You can find the Discord channel below, and that's where I'm going to be most responsive. That's where I try to help everyone grow and improve. So make sure you join, and I hope to see you there.